I was sprawled on my couch, half watching a baseball game, when movement outside my Leave VY room window caught my eye. A woman in sharp blazer and skirt, gripping a clipboard like it was her lifeline, was pacing around my car with the intensity of a hawk eyeing its prey. Her sleek, platinum blonde ponytail swung with every step as she jotted something down on a piece of paper that looked way too official for my liking. I knew her instantly. Lillian Harper, or, as the neighborhood whispered behind closed doors, Queen Lillian. She'd been the iron-fisted president of our suburban HOA for 6 years, ruling our quiet cul-de-sacs like her personal kingdom. With a smug grin, she slapped what looked like a parking ticket on my windshield, stepped back, and snapped a photo with her phone, clearly pleased with herself. I could hear her muttering something about teaching newcomers a lesson as she admired her work. That was a tide had enough. I grabbed my badge from the kitchen counter, slipped on my sneakers, and eased open the front door. Lillian was still there, furiously typing on her phone, probably crafting some sanctimonious post for the neighborhood group chat. She didn't notice me until I was practically on top of her. "Excuse me, ma'am," I said, keeping my voice steady but firm. "Is there a problem with my car?" Her head jerked up, and she flashed a smile so fake it could have been plastic, the kind that never reached her eyes. "Yes, actually," she said, her tone dripping with superiority. "You're in violation of Neighborhood Code Section 4.3 regarding street parking. All vehicles must be—" I cut her off, flipping open my wallet to reveal my badge. "Detective James Carter, Metro Police Department. Mind explaining what you're doing to my car?" Her face froze, that smug grin vanishing faster than a thief in the night. For a split second, panic flickered in her eyes before she masked it with a huff of indignation, clutching her clipboard like a shield. I'd only been in Greenhaven Estates for 3 weeks, but Lillian's reputation had preceded her. The day I moved in, before the MOVYing truck had even cleared out, a glossy folder stuffed with 50 pages of HOA bylaws landed on my doorstep, each rule paired with a fine amount highlighted in neon green. I'd skimmed it enough to know I wasn't breaking any rules. My unmarked cruiser, a plain black sedan that blended in with every other car on the block, was parked legally in front of my house. As a cop with 12 years on the force, following rules was second nature. I double-checked the parking regulations after finding 3 passive-aggressive notes on my windshield in my first week, each one more threatening than the last. The final one had warned of immediate towing for my flagrant disregard for community standards. I'd laughed and tossed in the trash. "This vehicle has been reported for extended street parking," Lillian said, her voice regaining its haughty edge. "The HOA requires primary parking in your garage or driveway." I took a deep breath, channeling the calm I'd honed dealing with hotheads on the job. "Ma'am, I've read the bylaws. Section 4.3 says no parking on the street for more than 72 hours straight. My car moves daily for work. Also, that paper you stuck on my windshield looks an awful lot like an official citation. Care to explain?" Her eyes narrowed, and she shifted tactics. "This is a warning notice from the HOA board, which I chair. We have every right to enforce our standards." She reached past me to snatch the fake ticket, but I stepped in her way. "I'd like to see your authority to issue these notices, please." Lillian scoffed, as if I was the one being ridiculous. "I don't need to show you anything. I've run this HOA for 6 years, and I know the rules better than anyone." She whipped out her phone. "If you're going to be difficult, I'll call our towing company right now. They'll be here in 15 minutes. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about parking. This was about power. Over the next 2 weeks, Lillian's crusade against me kicked into overdrive. I started documenting everything, just like I've been trained to build a case. 7 more fake tickets appeared on my windshield, each with absurd violations. My favorite was unacceptable hubcap sheen disrupting curb appeal after a dusty day. I tried to play nice, even dragging myself to an HOA meeting, but Lillian steamrolled me. She dodged my questions, cut me off after 20 seconds of speaking, and had the other board members too scared to challenge her. Neighbors started whispering to me about her reign of terror. An elderly couple fined for non-compliant mailbox height, a single dad hassled for his kid's skateboards being VY-sible from the street. It was clear Lillian's rules were less about standards and more about control. The breaking point came a month after I moved in. From my office window, I watched Lillian march toward my car, not just with her usual clipboard, but with a digital camera and what looked like an embossed seal stamp. This was no ordinary power trip. She was escalating. She photographed my car from every angle, checking a printed list like she was building a federal case. Then she slipped an envelope marked "Final Notice" in bold red letters under my wiper and made a theatrical phone call, gesturing at my car for any nosy neighbors watching. I grabbed my badge, started recording on my phone, and strolled outside with the calm of a man who knew the storm was about to break. "Good afternoon, Ms. Harper," I said, my voice cool as ice. She spun around, startled, then held up a finger to shush me. "I'm on an important call with the towing company," she snapped, continuing her performance. I waited until she hung up, her eyes gleaming with the confidence of someone who thought they'd already won. "Ms. Harper, what authority are you operating under to issue these notices that look like municipal citations?" I asked, holding up my phone to show I was recording. Her posture stiffened, but she doubled down. "As HOA president, I have full authority to enforce our standards through warnings and fines." I nodded, stepping closer. "I'd like to see the bylaw that lets you personally issue these notices and the board vote APRO VYing this format that mimics government documents." Her confidence cracked, just for a second. "I don't need to show you that. Everyone knows I speak for the board." My voice stayed steady, but I let the weight of my words land. "Ms. Harper, impersonating law enforcement or issuing documents that could be mistaken for official citations is a potential criminal offense. Also, I've heard from neighbors about you collecting processing fees in cash for violations. Care to explain?" Her face went white, like she'd seen her own ghost. "Those are administrative fees in the bylaws," she stammered, but the con VY tie-in was gone. I held up my phone. "I've been documenting your actions since I moved in. Based on my experience, this could be harassment, fraud, and impersonation of a government official. I need to see all records of these citations and where the collected funds went." Lillian's mask shattered. "You can't record me without permission. That's illegal," she shouted, loud enough to draw neighbors to their windows. "Actually, in this state, single-party consent is fine for public spaces," I said, unfazed. "Now about those records." She clutched her clipboard tighter. "This is private business. You have no right." That's when I called my precinct, explaining the situation and requesting an officer for a potential fraud investigation. When Officer Daniels rolled up 10 minutes later, Lillian was still refusing to hand over her citation log, her voice climbing to a shriek. "This is outrageous. You're just mad about getting cited." Daniels, cool as ever, explained there was enough EVY denke for a formal investigation, especially since 3 other residents had filed similar complaints. Lillian's jaw dropped. When she still wouldn't cooperate, Daniels detained her for questioning, reading her rights as she sputtered. "Do you know who I am? I'm friends with the city council. I host the charity auction." By now, a crowd of neighbors had gathered, their faces a mix of shock and quiet glee. A quick check revealed Lillian had no criminal record, but she'd been named in 3 HOA-related lawsuits, all settled out of court. Her notebook was the real bombshell. It detailed overdue $5,200 in cash fees collected from residents in the past year, none of which appeared in the HOA's books. The next week was chaos. Lillian was charged with misdemeanor fraud, attempted petty theft, and impersonating a government official. The judge set bail at due $6,000 and barred her from contacting her VY Tims. When the story spread, more neighbors came forward with tales of her bullying fines for unauthorized flower pot colors, daily notices for excessive mailbox flag tilt. The HOA board, finally free of her grip, booted her out and launched a full audit of her tenure. The district attorney offered Lillian a plea deal, due $8,000 in restitution to the HOA, 250 hours of community SARE VYC, and 3 years of probation. In court, her face crumpled as she realized her empire had collapsed. "My reputation, my place in this community," she whispered, her voice breaking as she was led away. the clack of her designer heels echoing in the silence. For the first time, Lillian Harper looked small, stripped of the power she'd wielded like a club. What do you think? Did Lillian deserve her downfall? Or was she just a stickler for rules who got carried away? Should HOAs have the power to fine residents like this, or are they breeding ground for petty tyrants? Have you ever dealt with someone like Lillian in your neighborhood? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more real-life drama.